People that just eat meat and can't stop talking about it. I got the whole host of usual suspects today. We got Joe Zumbo and All Out Life Carnivore Justin Giebler, and of course your humble host Thomas Clark, who started this channel a long time ago. And so, what is our topic tonight, Justin?
Hey, welcome back to another of one of these epidoses. Do you even say epidose anymore, Tom? I feel like I ask that every epidose.
I do, and I even put it in the description. In this epidose.
Well, today we're talking about hitting that like button, hitting that subscribe button, leaving comments, talking about our sound quality, talking about the visuals. Joe's got some Christmas magic behind him. There you go. It's very, very nice. You know what? We should have sold meat mosaic ornaments. I think the ornament business is still pretty. I mean, I think you can buy ornament stock, and I think that's good for the next 100 years. Forget your Tesla, forget your Apple. Buy now ornament stock, because everyone at some point becomes between 60 and 80 years old. And what do you do with your money? You buy ornaments, and there's so many of every single kind. And I'm just saying, we need to have a meat mosaic ornament ready to go.
My Christmas tree actually got sausages wrapped around it, just in links. That's how I've decorated my Christmas tree at the back.
Oh, okay.
By the way, guys, just to let you know, this is the set that I use for my OnlyFans page.
Oh, okay.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah, so this is where you shoot your classic scenes on the bearskin rug.
That's it.
In front of the fireplace.
Fireplace in summer here in Sydney, 40 degrees heat.
I don't know if you should be concerned, but I'm pretty sure one of those nutcrackers on the mantle moved.
Yeah, probably. Probably.
Right.
Actually, it's not nutcracker, they're meatballs.
Oh, meatballs.
They're made of meatballs.
It's a carnivore thing.
So you guys gonna eat some sausage with pine needles in it for Christmas dinner, or what?
I'll just pick the pine needles out and just eat the sausage.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah. So what are we talking about today?
Well, I thought we would talk about how we talk to non-carnivores about carnivore when it comes up, because it does come up, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then, of
100%.
course, a lot of times people talk about the awkward social experience. So I was just figure we get into that. Not the first time we mentioned it, but I thought, since we've all had a million conversations with people about carnivore or just eating meat or being meat-based, why don't we just kind of, talk a little bit about our experience with that? So either one of you had one recently?
I ran into, recently at my job, we had a Christmas party, and it was supposed to be catered. And I sent my director, my boss, hey, I was just curious if I could know what's being catered, just so I know whether or not to bring in some food or something. Or if it's, it's going to be a fasting day for Justin. My boss was like, I don't know. Go talk to this person, then talk to this person. Anyway, eventually talked to somebody that was like, oh, we're getting this. I heard you have food restrictions. And it's kind of interesting about the conversation was that she's like, oh, my daughter is allergic to gluten and she's allergic to soy. And my daughter's allergic to this and allergic to that. So I was like, oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of similar. And so I was curious what we're having, but I don't mind bringing my own food. It's not a big deal. And this person in the organization was actually like, no, we'll find something that will we can accommodate you. I was like, okay, that's cool. So I trusted them, and they ended up getting me they went to an Italian place, right? So everyone else had lasagna and salad, and they got me a chicken breast, not a risotto, but it is an Italian dish, but it was chicken breast. I'm sure it had olive oil, and it had capers, those little green vegetables, a little bit of lemon and tomato. So it was nice of them to try. I mean, it would have been nice if it had just been a plate of meatballs or something. I may have been more happy. It tasted good. It was fine, and I appreciated the effort. So I think people are willing to be more accommodating. And she didn't ask a lot of questions. Like, she brought in about her daughter, struggling with food allergies and things like that, and struggles with gluten and things like that, which gluten intolerance is super common. Like, there's so many people. And so I think just starting in with that common ground of, because everyone knows somebody that's allergic to some kind of food, sadly, right? And whether or not, and there's a debate of where those food allergies come from that we're not going to get into here at this time, especially. But there is a lot of people that are like, oh, allergic to peanuts, or they're allergic to fish, or they're allergic to, gluten, especially, just on various levels. So I think that people are understanding that there's something going on in the food or something going on somewhere. And I think that's just can be opening the door. And then just the typical, just at work when I have my lunch, or going out to eat, with coworkers or something like that. And I think people, so people take you seriously as serious as you take yourself. So if you, and maybe you do this in the beginning, I know I certainly did. If you're kind of mealy mouthed about being carnivore and you're like try to like downplay it and look down and kind of ashamed, then people are gonna look at you maybe not as weak, but like, how serious about this are you? And when you're in the beginning and you're unsure yourself, it's hard to be serious about it.
Yeah.
And so it could be easy to come off that way. And there's certain types of people that smell blood in the water, right? And so if they ask you and you are kind of, your eyes are down and you're like, oh, I'm kind of trying this carnivore thing right now. If you're kind of like that about it, then there's a certain kind of person that's gonna want to dive right in there and be like, what about your cholesterol? Have you heard this? What about your fiber? You know what I mean? And those people are kind of just annoying people, and they probably annoy a lot of people in their life, and they've just chosen to annoy you. And this kind of gets in the aspect of relationships. So it's like, how important, how much time do you have? How much time do you want to spend? Because I don't expect anyone, and I don't think anyone should have to sit there and defend their diet to other people. I think you can say whatever level you're comfortable with, and I think people should just respect your eating choices or lack of. People can have their opinions, and now at this stage, someone that's read the books, watched the YouTube videos, a person that contributes to the community in our small way. When people bring up cholesterol, I know, well, the studies on that, it's epidemiology, and, cholesterol, is linked to here, but, the link is very weak. And, like, we know all the stuff once you're in this to kind of counteract it, or the glucose. And, the good thing, maybe it is, maybe it isn't, is that most of the people you're going to run into are pretty statistically and scientifically illiterate. And so you can just throw a word at them like gluconeogenesis, and they don't know what that is. They don't know what that means. Yeah. You can say the GLUT4, transmuter in the blood, transport, yeah. And they're not going to know what that is, right? And so there's a certain point where you can just kind of razzle dazzle them with concepts and words that they don't know, and then that they have to check in with themselves, because they're either they double down and pretend like they know better even though they don't know what you just said, or it kind of gets them to like kind of back down and quiet up, because they're just kind of like, oh, I hadn't heard that, I don't know what that is, let me look that up or something and come back to you maybe. And it just depends on themselves and how honest they are. I had a coworker that was like, well, aren't you worried about your cholesterol? And I was like, okay, if cholesterol is such a problem, there's cholesterol floating around all over your body, correct? Okay, yes. Then why wouldn't these problems start in the fingers, toes, and hands? Because you'd certainly have blockages in your hands and fingers and toes before ever having a blockage in your heart. And he couldn't answer it and was like, I never thought about it that way. Huh. And that just, it shut him up, to be quite honest. And we've talked about it off and on. And he's kind of like, oh, you know, stuff you're trying to say is trying to make sense. And the biggest barrier, I think, is not even the science. I think the biggest barrier you run into is, I could never give up bread, or I could never give up fries, or it's just
people. There's the bread, the fries, the tortillas, the rice. You know, people that's a really common reaction, right?
The balanced diet. That's the one I love.
Balanced diet, pasta. Can't give up my pasta.
And you got to have your, you know, what is it? All your serves of fruit and vegetables and all that garbage.
Yeah, I've had more than one person say, "Oh, I could never give up fruit," you know.
Right.
But and we must have all thought that in the very beginning too, right?
Not really.
It wasn't the fruit. No, it couldn't be.
Not the fruit, but
yeah, not the fruit.
It might have been like, because I probably would have thought something like, no more sourdough, fresh sourdough with melted butter on it, because that's awful good. I can see, you know, I mean, that's just a reaction, but you know, once people start eating food and they start feeling better, they stop missing stuff, right?
Oh, yeah.
Typically, right?
Or when they reintroduce it and they see how bad they're feeling, they go, "Oh my God, it's time to take it back out again."
Mm-hmm.
But I was going to say, I find it really funny how people will, you know, and I to me, I find diet or lifestyle is a very personal thing, you know, and people are willing to question what you eat, you know, and it's a personal thing, but they'll never question what faith you practice, you know. It's just one of those things that as soon as you mention carnivore, that they've got an opinion about it straight away. You know, and look, to be honest, guys, I've basically given up. I don't bother anymore. You know, I just, as soon as I start going, I say, yeah, no worries, no problem. You do what works for you, and I'll do what works for me.
Yeah, I mean, people offer, you know, the holidays, so you know, every other day somebody say, "Hey, would you like some of this candy? Would you like some of this holiday, you know, whatever confection it is?" And I just like, "Oh, no, thanks." And that's it, you know. I mean, everybody at work knows. Some of the young guys that occasionally ask me a question like, "Do you eat raw turkey on Thanksgiving?" No, I don't.
Raw turkey,
Raw, uncooked. Because they see me eat some steak that looks raw sometimes, you know, or sometimes I do eat raw steak, you know, and raw hamburger, but you know, I don't eat. That's probably like maybe 20% of the meat I eat is raw, maybe. You know, most of it's cooked. So, and I only like it raw when it's nice and fresh, you know. So, but they've seen it, so then they're like, "Oh, should eat." And I told them before, I don't eat everything raw. I cook steak all the time. I eat cooked hamburger all the time. You know, the shrimp, I eat shrimp every day. It's boiled, you know. So, but it's not like I'm not like we sit down and eat together hardly ever. So, and one of the fortunate things at work is when they have something going on, it's usually a barbecue. So there's usually meat to be had. So that's nice.
or mushrooms. They're grilling mushrooms on the barbecue.
Well, they do, you know, cook other things on the grill. You know, there are vegetables and, you know, stuff. And, you know, there's always tortillas to make tacos and stuff like that. But the meat's there. Nobody cares if you eat the tortillas or not, you know.
Well, just so you guys know, Tom does live in Southern California. So you kind of, the only place that doesn't have tortillas is In-N-Out.
Yeah, pretty much.
Pretty much.
But, you know, for all I know, they're on the secret menu somewhere. I just never asked.
I had an interesting conversation recently with a friend that's known me since I've started carnivore. Like we've been friends for years, like over a decade.
Mm-hmm.
And we were recently catching up. He's like, "Dude, how's that diet of yours going?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, it's fine." He's like, "Dude, what does your doctor think?" I was like, "All my blood tests come out fine. Like there's nothing's way out of range. There's really not even cholesterol's way out of range, you know, everything." And my doctor is just like, "All right, nothing's out of range. I don't know. You're healthy." You know, like if you go in there healthy, I think most doctors aren't gonna fight with you.
Well, if you reverse conditions, because my doctor that's retired now, he's like looking at the test results, and I'm telling him what I'm doing, and he's like, I expected a fight from the guy, and the guy's just like, well, whatever you're doing, keep doing it, because I don't get results like this. I was getting leaner, and my arthritis went away, and my blood work was looking better. And he's like, you're just eating me, And then, he told me, he said when he first got into medicine, he wanted to get into nutrition, and he wound up a family doctor. So I would sometimes when I go in, I just I'd take a book with me that I was reading, so he could read it. So now he's retired, so he's probably actually read the books. But yeah, I didn't get much flack from the doctor. And then I was talking to, I don't know, like a nurse or someone was asking me questions about something over the phone. And she was asking me what I eat, and I explained. I said, well, when I eat fruits and vegetables and stuff like that, or vegetable oil, I get joint pain, severe joint pain, severe arthritis. And then that was a perfectly acceptable answer, that like, yeah, just eat meat because all this other stuff gives me joint pain and digestive issues. I didn't even really get into it, and they just accepted it. So you're not necessarily always going to get pushback. The question about cholesterol is a valid question, because we've been inundated with this idea from the healthy heart hypothesis that animal fat creates all this cholesterol in our blood somehow, and then somehow raises LDL, right? The so-called bad cholesterol. We've said a million times, isn't really cholesterol, it's a transport protein, but it's neither here nor there. So anyways, yeah. And I mean, when you sit down with people and you explain to them that, cholesterol is a substance, LDL is different, HDL is a different substance, and they have these functions, and, and triglycerides, what's a triglyceride? Because they're always on that lipid panel, right? They're the cholesterol panel.
And the blood.
Yeah. So when you sit down and explain to people what it is, and then I realized at some point, it's like, most people don't realize that we basically get our calories from 3 macronutrients, right? Most people don't. Well, that's the fourth one, this fourth stepchild of macronutrients. So most people aren't aware of that, right? They've never really thought, oh, there's carbs, proteins, and fats, right? Sometimes people know fat's got more calories per gram than the other stuff, but that's about it, So when you could have a coherent conversation like that, and this is all stuff that people can look up themselves, or it sounds vaguely familiar, like, yeah, I think I learned that one time, and you can start taking some of the mystery out of it, or my favorite challenge is like, well, everything in the produce section at the store you shop at is not natural. It did not come from nature. It's all man-made. They just got some plant to make it for us. They engineered a plant to make that. Didn't used to exist. We didn't evolve eating it, So, a lot of my conversations go in that direction. So
Even the stuff that you buy at the markets, I know here in Sydney, for example, they pick the bananas green and they gas them to make them ripen up. And that can't be bloody good for you.
Yeah, bananas, I was just having that conversation with somebody. They're buying bananas for their kids, and they're green, and she brings them home green, and the kids complain. And then she's like, yeah, and then they turn yellow really fast, and I can never eat them fast enough because they go from green to black before they can eat them all. So.
And then that friend was like, because your diet's getting pretty popular now. You know what I mean? Like it is kind of interesting how, as this gets more popular as it is, I think more and more people, it's just going to be like, all right, there's vegans and there's carnivores now, and people fighting for omnivores, and people are probably going to be eternally confused. Hopefully not. And hey, here in the US, we got some political movement that might be moving things in our direction just a bit. Counting on you there, In and Out, to switch your oil to duck fat or lard or whatever the plan was. Tallow, I think.
Hello, yeah. I saw that. I think you posted that in
Yeah,
a group
yeah.
chat.
Speaking
And
of,
you know, that's
oh, go ahead.
that's not perfect, but it's a step in, I think, the right direction, and swinging the pendulum back away from this low fat, high sugar, um, I don't know, monarchy we've been under for since I was born. I think since when Tom was born, since Joe
Oh,
was
yeah.
born. I mean, it's gonna be 80, maybe even 80 years or so now, of low fat, high sugar. Um, and I think most people know when they look at their lunch or dinner, I think they know what they're eating is unhealthy, but they don't know why, and they actually don't know what the problem is. And every single time they try something, it doesn't work. And I think one part is due to the support. The other part is the food is addictive. The other part is that it's the transitions the wrong way because it's typically moving away from meat and closer to some kind of plant or green juice or something. Um, and with my coworkers, because we're pretty close, we're a pretty tight knit bunch actually. I just start telling them, well, that sugar and that croissant with chocolate is sugar, and you just put sugar in your coffee, and that donut is sugar, and yeah, that yogurt. Okay, there's a bit of protein in there, but you got it low fat, so that's mostly also sugar, and you've now poured Carnation instant breakfast into your yogurt, which I kind of think is an abomination. But that's just more sugar. She's like, but I'm getting, it's a high protein. It's like, yeah, I mean, it's like a plant protein. Like there might be some whey in there. So I mean, it's just, it can be kind of fun once you've been in this for a while. It's just like, okay, that is sugar. You just ate sugar with some sugar and extra sugar. Like that's all I've seen you eat.
It's really funny. We've got those chai bowls over here, and people think they're really healthy. So it's like they put Nutella on them and they put a whole heap of fruit, and people go, "Oh yeah, but it's marketed as this superfood from the Amazon." But when you read how much sugar's in it, like just reading it gives you diabetes. It's
like the
crazy.
acai bowls. Remember
Acai
acai
bowls,
bowls were a big thing. I think
Well, they're
they've
very
kind of
big over
faded.
here. It's massive over here. Like there are food trucks popping up everywhere just doing them, and then they'll put in a bowl and they'll make it stand up and decorate it. And looks, I don't know if I say it looks amazing because it doesn't, but it's very colorful.
Yeah.
And again, it's marketed as this amazing superfood from the Amazon.
Well, and this is part of the problem is not only have they made the wrong foods hyper palatable, but they made them visually attractive as well, right?
Well, the color of the rainbow.
Yeah, I got to eat all the colors.
Yep. And then going back to what you're saying, and then you get people that eat all this fruit and they think, yeah, but honey, it's natural sugar, it's natural this, it's natural, but it's no good for you.
Right. So I just looked it up because I wasn't sure what year. So Ansel Keys introduced the lipid heart hypothesis in 1953.
Okay.
So since 1953, they've been trying to prove that hypothesis correct, and they haven't done it yet. So imagine, we were all born after well after 1953. So, and it's still the predominant sort of thought behind nutrition and heart disease and even cancer. But even cancer, a lot of the heart cancer research was based on this concept of an oncogene that was, essentially floating around in there somewhere and turning cancer on, or removing the normal controls from cells and making them sort of immortal, was kind of the idea. And, now it's pretty clear that that's not panning out. Genetics can sort of determine which cancers you're more likely to get, but they're not just turning the cancer on. The environment is doing that somehow. And I think it goes mostly back to nutrition. There's lots of bad things in our environment, but you were talking about gluten intolerance earlier, and we got to be really careful what we say, but there's some studies that indicate that when you get a certain type of shot that um, uh, activates your immune system, shall we say, and you can actually wind up producing allergies to foods. And it's suspected that things like gluten are, gluten, the rise in gluten intolerance and other allergies, even perhaps peanut allergies, actually has to do with those therapies that activate the immune system. So you can actually acquire allergies in more than one way, and that seems to be one of the ways that it happens. So
With you guys over there, if you're a celiac, do they give you a card that you can present to a restaurant to say, hey, listen, I'm a celiac?
not that I know of, but most restaurants are like, they'll tell you, if they can prepare food for you that they can guarantee is, free or not. Same thing with peanuts, because peanut allergies are really considered potentially lethal, right? Because people get anaphylaxis and suffocate, right? So, whether they can do that or not, they're usually more than willing to discuss. A lot of times it's like the server will go back and double check with the chef.
Yeah.
So,
but see, I mean,
if you go to the hospital, you have to meet like if you do like a long stay in the hospital, you have to meet. Well, they have a nutritionist or dietitian come talk to you about like food allergies or anything, and they can give you like a wristband or, make sure that they know. So it's more like a hospital thing. I don't know. I've never known of any cards. I don't think there's. I'm sure it's like there's nothing put out by the government. I'm sure you could buy a card because you can buy a little card of whatever you want, pretty much. But yeah, it's kind of more like in the hospital restaurants. You just give them verbally and just say, and that is kind of a carnivore quote unquote hack, is like I've, occasionally depending on how I'm feeling, I'll just walk into a place and be like, listen, I'm going to be difficult. I have a lot of food allergies. Basically, I just made this easy for you too. How can I get the most amount of meat and different animals on my plate for the lowest price? And they look at me confused. And I'll be like, well, can I start with a burger? Okay. Let's see, it's got 2 patties. Can I add 2 more patties? Do you guys have bacon? Oh, you guys have bacon? Awesome. All right, throw some bacon on there. You guys do an egg? Yeah. Give me one of those eggs too.
Cats and dogs.
Do you have any cats, dogs, lizard? And restaurants want your money, and I don't know if they lose money on you or make money on you, because I think meat is probably one of they're more costly. Well, you're in the restaurant business, of course, Joe, so maybe you can even speak to
charge you for it. Of course they charge you for it.
Yeah.
They're not going to give it to you for free. I mean, if they're willing to charge you for a little side of tomato ketchup, they're gonna slam you for extra bacon and extra sausages and steak on a plate. 100%.
You can wind up with a $27 hamburger real quick.
Yeah, it has happened to many a time. Yeah, but it's worth it. I think worth it. And I think I just hope that the more people that do that can prove to the restaurants that cutting back on the bread and stuff can be profitable for them. And I usually if they're able to do it for me, which I don't think I've really got anywhere that's been a problem, I usually leave them a nice tip as well. I think that can help as well, and be friendly. Just another part of this, quote unquote war is just the way their general experience of you as a person at work, with your family, what have you. If you're just always kind of even tempered, cool, getting work done, high energy, happy, go lucky, I think people will pick up on that and they'll be like, what's different? It's like, oh, he just eats meat and he's, one of the best workers we have. Like, what's up with that? Never in a bad mood. We all have shit happen, of course, but I think that is the best way to, if you want to quote unquote convert people. I think it's just bringing your best self to wherever you are, and I think the proof is in the steak, right? And so if they see you doing well, having a good amount of energy, I think people are going to take notice of that. And I think that's the best way to grow this, is through stories, as well as just showing up and just being at your best, being kind to, even if you got a vegan coworker, just be kind to them, as long as you're not like trying to call HR on you or something like that, which I don't know. I hope not. And because I think everyone's trying to make the healthiest choices that they can. And health comes in a variety of different ways. And when I say that, I mean, like, there's the social part of it, the mental part of it, the emotional part of it. And if it's absolutely nail biting gonna kill you to give up coffee, because hey, every Saturday morning you have coffee with your mom and she's 97 years old and you don't know how much longer she's going to be around, it's fine. Like, have coffee with your 97-year-old mother, please. I beg of you. That is good for her and your well-being,
Yeah, if I could circle back to, it was something that we were talking about earlier. I had texted my friend Brian, happy birthday. It was probably a couple weeks ago. And he's like, hey, good to hear from you, meat man. You were way ahead of the curve on that or something. And I was like, oh, and I don't think I've ever actually even talked to him about it. He moved out of state years ago, and so I haven't really talked to him that much. I just haven't been out to eat with him in a long time. So anyway, somehow he knows. And that was the first thing he mentioned. So I thought that was interesting. And so, I think it is getting better known, that it's a thing and lots of people are having success with it. So, and then the other thing we were talking about, you mentioned In-N-Out. So Aaron calls me the other day and he's like, hey, you still eat those Flying Dutchmen? I'm like, yeah. And he's like, you know what animal style is? And I'm like, yeah, they put dressing and pickles and stuff like that, grilled onions on your burger, your fries, whatever. He's like, yeah, well, there one thing about animal style people forget, they put mustard on there too. He's like, they put mustard on the patties and they cook it on the grill with the mustard. I was like, really? I forgot. If I knew that, I forgot about that. And then he's like, yeah, so next time we go in, and this is going to change your life, by the way, he's like, ask him for the Flying Dutchman cooked in mustard. Thank you later. I haven't done it yet, but it does sound good. So
Good, don't say that. God, I have to come back over.
yeah, you better. Because I'm going to take pictures and send them to you. You're like,
well, would you even be able to see the mustard?
Huh?
Would you even be able to see the mustard? It'd be grilled in, wouldn't it?
Oh, I'll make sure he sees it.
It'd be interesting to see if the mustard would burn.
Yeah, I'm curious. I'll have to do an at-home experiment for science.
Well, if you've ever had a burger animal style, it had mustard on it. So there you go. That was part of the magic.
I didn't know that. Well, I did know that they have mustard and ketchup. That's right. Well, ketchup, it's right in front. But I forget they have. I forget they have pickles, and I forget that they have mustard. And they used to have.
In-N-Out near you?
No, not anymore. Sadly. Nope.
God.
I'd have to drive to Colorado. 8 hours away is the closest one.
Wow.
Still closer than me.
Right, that's true.
Oh my god. Yeah, I think when they opened that In-N-Out in Colorado, like the first few days, it was like an 8-hour wait.
No, I think they had a 24-hour wait.
Was it 24 hours? Oh my god.
Yeah.
Where was this?
When
They opened.
I want to say it was open in Denver, the big city.
Oh my
Maybe
God.
one of them. I don't think it was
24-hour wait for a burger.
Yeah, for In and Out. Yeah.
Look, I like In and Out, but I ain't waiting 24 hours. I ain't even flying over there for it, you know, as much as I enjoyed it. Yeah, it's wait 24 hours to eat a
Well, you can fly over here to
fine
England in
Dutchman.
less than 24 hours. I mean,
Yeah, I could, but it would also cost me $3,000, $3,000 to eat it as well. You know, it'd be an expensive burger.
well, you know, if you come all the way over here, I'll buy the burger.
Thanks, mate. Thanks.
If they ever open an In and Out in Kansas City, I will get in line. And if I gotta wait for 24 hours, I'm waiting 24 hours. I would do it. I will film it. I mean, we would do a show about it, but I would. I don't, but I would order more than one. Like I'd probably try to order like 10 flying Dutchman or something, so I wouldn't have to come
Make it
back.
worthwhile.
Yeah, for a while.
Make sure you go home sick, so you don't get. Yeah, I don't know. I would, as much as it's beautiful, and I really enjoyed it. I would probably wait. I'd be happy to line up for about an hour. Yeah.
That's pretty average at some of the In and Outs in California. Is an hour wait on average
Occasionally,
on a Saturday night. When you have dinner time on like a Saturday.
Yeah, I drove by and there was a crazy line the other night, and I was gonna get out and take pictures for Joe and send it to him because he asked me to a while ago and I haven't done it yet. Because he tells people back home that like people get in line and they have to have people walking with tablets to take your order and stuff like that. They're like, nah, that's crazy. Nobody would do that, right?
I will say Tommy's was also good as well.
Yeah.
We had that on the way back from the Dodgers game.
Yeah, Tommy's
sitting by the side of the freeway.
Yeah,
watching all the semis go by.
Saw one over near where you used to live, Justin.
Oh, okay, yeah.
The one near the mall there.
Yeah.
That's where we went. That one there.
Yeah. Hey, In and Out, if you want to sponsor a podcast to be Mosaic, just saying.
Just saying.
We already got some gear we could throw on. Joe's got the skateboard. I've got the backpack. Yeah. Tom can go grab a couple shirts. They'd have to be tank tops though. I've never seen an In and Out tank top.
I don't know. There must be one or two out there. So I mean, no chain in their right mind from Southern California wouldn't have a tank top because it's hot here.
Well, Joe, Tom, you could get that In and Out bikini. There you go.
Right. Yeah, I had to bring that up, didn't you?
I would like to go to the hat.
Yeah,
that's where I would go.
There you go. Need the hat to sponsor us too.
Yeah. The hat was good. The hat. That's the only place I wish I went back to. I remember you asking me, and I said, "No, we'll go to Tommy's or whatever." Or we went somewhere else, and we should have gone to the hat.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was good. That big 2 beef patties with pastrami and chili. Oh God.
Right.
Yeah, I try and make it here, and it tastes good, but it was better there because I didn't have to make it.
Yeah, I've tried to like kind of try and copy their chili, and I haven't figured it out yet. So I guess if I did some deep dives on the internet, somebody's probably figured it out. But
I'll never forget when you said to me, "Do you want chili?" I'm thinking like chili sauce. Like I didn't. So we don't have chili. Like that's what we have here. We don't have chili like what you guys have.
Well, and you described chili as like a casserole, which is probably technically correct, but highly offensive to Americans. So
no, that's not even a casserole. It's like chili. It's like when you say chili, it's like you've got chili. You've just put them through a food processor, add a bit of oil, and you got.
No, when you described our chili, our American chili, yeah,
right. It's like a bolognese.
Like, struck a nerve when you said casserole.
Like a bolognese. No, I make it here. Actually, it's nice. I don't know if it's exactly the same, But it's actually, you know what? I might make some today. It's making me hungry.
Well, there is no one kind of chili, you know. I mean, there's so
Right.
many different kinds, you know. Some have beans in it, and some don't. So I know the chili at Tommy's is like a paste. You know?
Yeah, it was quite thick. I remember when we had a burger. You guys had the burger at Pier Burger, Santa Monica Pier, and you had chili, and it was a little bit more runny.
Mhm. Yeah,
That was
Yeah.
that was a nice burger.
I've
Thank
had
you,
it.
Chef.
I couldn't
Chef
tell you
Albert.
how many different ways I've had chili. Like people cook it so many different ways. It's not even funny, but it's great because you never get, you know, it's always something new to try, you know.
But typically, Tom, and Justin, is it meant to be runny or is it meant to be thick?
A lot of chili is soup like, kind of soupy. And then the other end of it's the Tommy's kind that's like almost like a paste. Yeah, thick.
It's not like a patty in itself.
Yeah,
It's like,
the patty that won't quite hold its shape.
yeah, I don't know. I just find that having it too runny would be just too messy on a burger. But I think
Right.
I had it with chili at Tommy's. Remember?
Mm-hmm.
I did have it with chili. Yeah, it was messy, but it was nice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, agreed. If it's really runny chili, it's too soupy. It doesn't really belong on a burger.
Yanking your forearm.
Yeah, it's just running down your arms.
Well, especially when you don't have the bun, because usually the bun would just soak all that up.
There is that. That's why they use a sponge bun, so it soaks up all that grease.
All that shit.
So
Yeah.
you guys ever feel socially awkward though when you're out in public or at a party or with friends or coworkers?
Also at home. Just kidding. Yeah, not really. Not really. When I was younger, I was very, very socially awkward. I would. You right there, Justin?
Yeah, I'm all right.
A bit of chili happening there.
Bit of chili.
Yeah, I was a little bit. I was very shy as a kid growing up. Wouldn't talk to anyone. Yeah, so much better nowadays.
The only time I get socially awkward with food now is if I mix MCT oil, coffee, butter, and heavy cream.
It's quite a concoction. I've tried that. It's quite tasty, but I haven't had MCT oil in a long time.
The bulletproof coffee.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah.
It is more or less, right?
Well, you end up putting a bullet through the toilet is what quite a few. It's like a machine gun, Tommy gun through the toilet. Speaking of Tommy, if you have that concoction,
Yeah.
I used to just drink it sitting on the toilet. And just easier, just straight through.
while I'm talking,
landing pad on the bowl on the bowl of the toilet.
like I'm talking like a Spaniard from Spain. Yeah. Going a
Where's
word
this
a
conversation
second.
gone?
Less than a second.
Nice. Real nice. Yeah. So you still doing the MCT oil then, huh, Justin?
No, I just the digestive. It just doesn't work with my digestion. Like I don't have enough things that I drink regularly to mix it with. Is the first problem. Second problem is I try to get myself to drink it without anything, and it just gives me kind of cramps and then sends me to the bathroom. Energy's great. Like other than that, like everything else about it, like yeah, you feel really great. And I've tried the pills and stuff, and I think MCT, like all magical plants, great plants, I kind of want to say that the effects are probably overblown. Because typically the people are like, oh yeah, I've heard it's anabolic. I've heard, it'll put hair on your chest. I've heard, there's like MCT oil is almost like the new like apple cider vinegar. It's like, oh, it'll cure cancer. It'll, just like everything. It's like taking steroids. Just like everything. And I've taken quite a bit of MCT oil, and I think it does give you like a little bit of cognitive boost, a little bit of more energy. I don't think it really does a whole lot more than that, which is great, and that's cool, and it's probably better than other things. But I don't miss it. It's not to the point of, I've got a couple of other experiments that we can talk about another time that I think are more effective. Don't mess with the digestion. And I think have better science behind them than MCT oil.
I would rather take MCT oil over apple cider vinegar.
Well, yeah.
Man, apple cider vinegar. I remember there was this doctor on the tube, and he was saying, you should have, if you got acid reflux, you should be having apple cider vinegar, and I did. It just kept me awake all night. But it was actually worse for me than
yeah. I've heard that too, and I tried it one time when I had heartburn long time ago, and it did not help. It made it worse for sure. It was awful.
I used to do a 2-ounce shot of apple cider vinegar every morning. Years ago. Yeah. It's like having a shot of tequila every morning.
I did a video about the apple cider vinegar a long time ago, and I was like, I think I took a picture like I was swigging out of the bottle or something. I don't know, and I don't even remember what I said other than I was making fun of it because like it's the cure-all in every nutrition forum, everywhere that they advertise apple cider vinegar and say it cures this, and you take it for that. It's the perfect remedy for this. And so I was making fun of that, and then people were like messaging me, "Hey, don't you know you can get apple cider vinegar in a capsule so you don't have to taste it?" So
then you got to drink through a straw so it doesn't damage your teeth.
Right?
It's like bloody hell.
Yeah, I mean, we get the same thing with sugar. Everybody's like defending sugar, and it's like the first thing we learn is sugar rots your teeth. Right? That should be the first clue. How would we make it through history if we were rotting our teeth out as children or adolescents? Right? We'd have been goners.
Oh yeah.
And we'd say the same thing. Like, apple cider vinegar, just melt your teeth right out of your head, strip the enamel right off.
It was my symptoms actually got worse with apple cider vinegar. It was more frequent. My acid reflux was more frequent. Yeah. I remember one night I just kept drinking apples. I almost had like half a bottle of apple cider vinegar. So I was like, just to try and, fix my acid reflux.
I think I heard somebody try and explain one time that what it does is it causes the pyloric valve to open, and then the stomach contents that's worked its way out of beyond it is supposed to dump back in. But I tried that. It didn't work.
No. If I ever get acid reflux, I will drink a lot of water and just make myself burp. Just plain water, yeah. Make myself burp, and it sort of fixes that. But yeah, I get, whenever I do get acid, and it could be because I haven't slept well, or I've eaten and gone to bed straight away. I'm typically like a pregnant woman, where like my stomach is just sticking out, and all my back's really sore because of it. Yeah, I get it really bad. Oh, used to. I haven't had it for quite a while now. Or I'm stressed. I'll get it.
Yeah, I used to get heartburn all the time. I mean, and everybody's like, "Oh yeah, it's normal. It's normal. Take this, take that," And then, you change your diet, and you're like, "Holy crap! You don't have to suffer all the time." I wouldn't say I had it every day, but I had it most days. Sometimes it's just freaking miserable. I think it's actually scorched my vocal cords and changed my voice. I had it so frequently.
Well, Zantac, right? Zantac's huge, or was huge. 75 and 120 or 100, I forget. Like they even had like an extra strength or something.
Yeah, and you can buy over the counter stuff. Or you buy the double dose. So you get prescription to get the double dose. We got a brand here called Somac, and But I remember Tom telling me once that there was studies linking it to, I mean,
Pneumonia.
oh God, emphysema. You're telling me.
Oh,
It would damage your
acid
lungs.
reflux. Yeah.
Yeah. It would
Well, and some people,
damage your lungs.
some people, my mother included, she had it so bad that she'd get it in the bronchia, and then they get damaged, and then she gets like a asthmatic reaction. So it's like between the damage that was done and the irritation that happened over time, she basically developed asthma, right? So she had to take medication for it, but she took one of the proton pump inhibitors, which in the instructions says not to take it for more than 28 days, because the consequence of that is you're like, I don't know, 10 times more likely to get pneumonia. So, and I noticed that because how like craft beer became like all the rage, and I knew lots of people that were out drinking beer with a lot of hops in it. It's all the more hops the better kind of thing. And then they all seem to get heartburn, and then they start taking the proton pump inhibitors, and the next some dude who's like 29 years old, 33 years old, is in the hospital with pneumonia. And it's like, well, yeah, because you've been taking the proton pump inhibitors for 2 years straight now, so you could drink more beer. So, yeah,
Crazy.
yeah. But I think that's eventually what killed my mom. So, because she got pneumonia and died from pneumonia after fighting cancer for 25 years. So,
Wow.
yeah. So
Crazy.
yeah, I mean, I literally got the impression that it was normal to get that terrible heartburn, acid reflux, GERD, whatever you want to call it. So, and I love it when people are trying to pick those apart. Tell the difference between heartburn, GERD, and acid reflux.
I love when people say being bloated is good. Hey, it's normal to be bloated. Oh yeah, okay, no worries.
Yeah, if you're eating the wrong diet, it's perfectly normal.
I mean, it's not till you go to like a carnivore diet, or look, even a keto diet can cause a bit of bloating, but
Sure,
you are especially when, look, even on the keto diet, you're eating spinach and you're eating kale,
cauliflower, lots of cauliflower.
Cauliflower rice, everything cauliflower. And look, that, to be honest, that cauliflower gives me nasty acid reflux. Yeah,
I think it did too. I wasn't sure, but eating coconut oil even gave me acid reflux. It wasn't as bad as the other plant oils. And of course, that's the other thing I love. People are like, "Oh no, that's a fruit oil." Sorry about olive oil. That's a fruit oil. And then coconut
olive oil.
Yeah, it's a fruit oil. It's not a vegetable oil. Like, okay. And then we could, and then if they're super extreme, palm oil and coconut oil actually, what do they call them? Tropical oils? I think they call them tropical
oils.
Because they're technically not fruit or vegetables, so they're tropical oils. It's like whatever.
Yeah, so you might as well just call the cottonseed oil. It's just industrial oil.
So and the other cottonseed oil, right? Like, what's that? So that's just another level of stuff we didn't evolve to eat. That was because it was 100% inedible, and just like everything else, they found a way to make it edible, and it makes us sick.
Edible.
Have you guys ever seen on Instagram those videos where they're talking about Fanta soft drink?
You guys about it? I know what Fanta is.
I know Fanta. I've drinking some Fanta. Yeah.
Well, I like the Fanta girls.
Yeah.
I think it was originally designed in post World War II Germany, right?
Some Fanta story like that, yeah.
So if you look at the
American technology,
if you look at the American version of Fanta compared to the European version looks like someone squeezed oranges in there, whereas the American version it's like fluoro.
Bright color, like neon colors.
Bright fluoro orange. It's like, what the hell?
Looks radioactive. Well, that's the same
Yeah.
thing,
It's
like
crazy. And then you read the list of ingredients. It's like, what the?
it's a bunch of chemicals.
Yeah.
Look, they're
Well,
both shit for you. But if you had to drink one, you'd want to go for the
do
the European one.
do you guys have Lucky Charms in Australia? It's a breakfast cereal called Lucky Charms.
No, we've got one called Fruit Loops.
Yeah, that's right.
Which is like extremely colorful.
So if you buy Lucky Charms or Fruit Loops in the United States, and then you go up to Canada and you buy them, they look completely different. Because in Canada, they don't allow those bright colored dyes. All those cereals are dyed with like vegetable and fruit juices.
Mhm.
So they're not as bright. But then, because they've been talking about the food dyes causing health problems for a long time. I know a lot of people have asserted that there's studies that show that, they tend to make things like ADD worse in children and stuff like that. And, but I mean, they're essentially chemicals. They're not just an extract from a fruit or vegetable.
Yeah,
So,
100%.
yeah. So, yeah. So a lot of that kind of stuff isn't legal in other parts of the world, just here. So we can have brightly colored Fanta to pour on our Lucky Charms.
Well, the high fructose corn syrup, I believe it is banned here in Australia.
Yeah, and I think I don't know, was it Monsanto? It was one of those big agro companies that came up with the corn that produces that to make it a cheap sweetener, cheap.
But even like Coca-Cola over here is different compared to Coca-Cola where you guys are.
Even Coca-Cola from Mexico, everybody likes to buy it because it's made with cane sugar instead of corn syrup.
Oh well.
So it's got that cane sugar taste, like that real sugar taste to it.
Yeah, and even Nutella. Well, that's how you guys pronounce it, Nutella.
Nutella.
Yeah, the Italian Nutella that's made in Italy tastes different to Nutella that is made here in Australia. Completely different.
Interesting.
Yeah, but they use a shitload of palm oil in there as well. Like there was a slide I once saw on Instagram, and it actually showed you how much sugar is in a jar of Nutella. It's insane.
Yeah, it's like 85% sugar. Yeah.
It's just that and the palm oil. It's nasty stuff, but it tastes good. It sells. It's these people have made, as Dr. Sean would say, and and obviously President Trump and RFK Jr. These people have made billions and billions of dollars out of making people sick, because that's all it does. It just makes you sick.
Yeah, and I want to say something like this. Don't quote me on it, but Monsanto, who's one of the big ag companies, they
Roundup.
They make the glyphosate Roundup, and they merged with Bayer Pharmaceutical or Bayer Chemical, which makes Bayer Pharmaceuticals. Bayer aspirin and all those drugs. Yeah.
Isn't it Bayer? Bayer?
We say Bayer here for some reason, but yeah, I get what you're saying. It's spelled that way.
Isn't that a German company? It is. Yep.
Mm-hmm. So they're, the Monsanto's helping produce the food that makes us sick, and Bayer selling the medications that we have to take because we're chronically ill from eating the food.
Yeah. Well, wasn't it that gentleman got like a $200 million payout because he sued them
over
Monsanto? Yeah,
could be.
I think he got it like I know it was possibly $200 million payout or something around there.
And I know that there's a number of
Hanson's dying, so yeah.
I know a number of countries have banned the genetically modified crops, like the Monsanto corn, the Roundup ready corn, stuff like that. So,
and the thing is, like, the crops are sprayed with that garbage, how much do you have to wash it for it to come off? I mean, you don't know. You can't see it, and then
Well,
you don't even know if it's, and for example, that just say they're spraying corn with it. You don't know if it's now penetrated and gone into the actual corn kernels itself or the corn itself. So,
well, it's probably just absorbed right through the soil. It goes through from the soil and up into the roots and into the rest of the. So it's probably inside. So.
yeah.
And they engineer the things like corn to produce more pesticides, higher levels of pesticides, so they're more pest resistant. And a lot of people don't realize, with all the talk about Roundup and which is a herbicide that also helps the crop ripen. The
Wow.
most of the pesticides, so that's a kind of a herbicide, but most of the pesticides that we're actually consuming are naturally produced inside the plants.
Mm-hmm.
And they engineer the plants to produce more pesticides so they're more pest resistant and more profitable, right? So a lot of the chemical load we're getting is directly from the plants.
Isn't that crazy? It's
Negative
like one big giant wheel. Everything's just they spray
Yeah.
the chemicals to make you sick. Then you buy the medication from the company that owns the company that sprays it's mental. It's just absolutely crazy how sick we've become as a civilization, I guess. It's become so sick.
Well, here's one of the other arguments I hear that it kind of makes sense on the surface, but I'm very skeptical of. It's like, it's okay to use olive oil because it's a fruit, and fruits are designed by nature for us to eat because the fruit tree wants us to eat the fruit and then walk around and spread the seeds when we defecate, right? So the oil from tree fruits like olives is actually better for you than the oil from plants that grow on the ground, i.e. vegetables. And I'm like, but you can't eat olives without detoxifying them. If you go eat a ripe olive off a tree, it'll make you very ill, right?
Yep. Well, and it's the same with nuts. You've got to activate nuts before you eat them because it's got the protective enzyme or the protective coating on the outside of them.
Yeah, so I wonder, how is that supposed to work? It's certainly wasn't humans that evolved to eat olives, right? We couldn't eat olives until we figured out how to cure them, right? So, and we certainly have only been squeezing the oil out of them for maybe 3,000 years, 4,000 years tops. And that's a blink of the eye in evolution, right? So,
Speaking
I mean,
of disgusting, I was looking for pictures of Lucky Charms in Canada, and I stumbled upon the Lucky Charms website, and they have recipes that you can make of pretty franken food, some pretty monstrous food with Lucky Charms. There is a Lucky Charms leprechaun rainbow layer cake, which is just
I'm looking at it
insane.
now, Justin.
me Lucky Charms.
There's a chocolate milk shake with peanut butter, chocolate syrup, Lucky Charms.
Whoa. No Nutella in for that.
Okay, so I was just having a look. We don't. So look, if I want to get Lucky Charms, I've got to go to because we do have stores here in Sydney where you can buy American food. But it looks like is it owned by Nestle, Lucky Charms?
Could
Probably,
be.
yeah.
I don't know. It seemed like a lot of there was a couple of big cereal companies like General Mills and
Post,
but it might be owned by Nestle and I think Trix, that's another bit popular one here.
Oh, is that your one? Okay, I can get this one over here. It's got no artificial colors, and I love that it's a 3.5 out of 5 stars health rating. But then you go buy some nuts, and it's like a point. It's like a 2 health rating. Go figure.
Yeah. So according to my quick search here, Lucky Charms is a General Mills product since 1964. But I wouldn't be surprised if somebody. So you know what happened was Philip Morris was a big cigarette company. They made Marlboro,
Okay.
Lucky Strike, I think. And then when the whole thing came out, and they decided that cigarettes are actually bad for you and cause cancer and emphysema, those, there you go, Lucky Charms.
$25 I can get it.
Ouch.
Yeah.
That's
Like
enough to
$5
turn you off.
here.
Don't worry about the ingredients. That's enough to turn you off.
The tobacco companies was like Philip Morris started buying up snack foods.
That's
So,
crazy.
yeah. So they're like, well, we're going to take a hit on cigarette smoking. So let's get into the next thing. And then,
Sugar.
yeah, let's sell people sugar. It's like, I want to say they own like Oreo and stuff like that. So I wouldn't be surprised if they eventually bought something like Lucky Charms or something somehow, but maybe they bought General Mills for all I know. I don't know.
So you can get here in Australia. Oh no, I think you used to be able to get. It's called the American Pet Care Package. And it's a whole heap of cereals that you can get. American cereals.
Wow.
Remember when
that
they
you
used
can
to have
get.
those little boxes? You could buy like a bunch.
Yeah, the little boxes. That's what
little
it is. I think.
boxes? Okay, yeah.
Well, you can't really see.
Hey guys, I've got to go. It's getting a little late here.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, we've been at it this for over an hour, but it's been great. This has been a great conversation, and it's good to catch up with you guys. So
We'll have a good
wrap
Christmas,
her up.
everyone.
And I'll just say, whatever you do, don't fall down
Down
that
the
carb
Lucky
hole.
Charms hole. American, what is it? The American Care Pack?
Care package.
Yeah.
Don't
Don't
fall
fall
down
down
there.
the American
It'd be
Care
first.
Package.
You think it'd be a first aid kit? You
All
need
right.
first aid after you eat it.
Anyway, thanks for
All right,
watching,
guys.
everybody.
Thanks.
Be healthy.
Have a good Christmas, everyone, and we'll see you all next
Eat
next
more
week.
meat.